without further ado, I think we will start. So, who we have today? Season 5, episode 2. Let's talk about meditation. We have Dagmara Zinkiewicz. Dagmara
Zinebi.
Ziniewicz. Thank you.
Yeah.
And trauma-informed life coach, compassionate inquiry practitioner and mentor by Gabor Mate. Um, IFS, and Dagmara will help us in a minute because I will ask her to tell us a little bit more about herself, what all those synonyms and stuff mean. So, thank you so much for finding a time for our little chat here. We're streaming to kind of help everybody to get into resources and people to kind of connect that we are here. If you have any question, needs assistant or looking for the coach. So this kind of live stream is kind of comfortable, easygoing conversation to allow you to understand the topic. And today's topic is understanding a trauma and we'll see how it goes. So, Dagmara,
Thank
without further ado, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? What leads you to this field of the work and what you're passionate about?
thank you. Thank you, Anna, for inviting me. I'm so grateful to be here. So yes, my life story is long and many things happened, but for many, many years, I was trying to help myself. I was often something was always not all right in my life. I was from the perspective I see, I was really unhappy in many circumstances. I always blame the circumstances for my unhappiness, not the right country, not the right job, not the right person I was with, not the right people around me. So it was very easy to at that time to project my unhappiness and the thing that I'm not satisfied with who I am and what I do. It's because all of these circumstances. And that led me to search, how I can change my circumstances, how can I live a better life, change the life with the power of my mind. And that search lasted for some time. I've done a lot of things and I've learned a lot of things. And through meditations, yoga, Kundalini yoga, NLP, power of the mind meditations, you name it, I've done it. I've really tried to feel better about my circumstances. And then at some time, the crisis came, and I had to come back to Poland because I'm an immigrant for the last 20 years. I had to come back to Poland. My mom wasn't well, and I had to stay with her for 8 months. And that was the first time I was back to my hometown, back to my home, like childhood home and circumstances and all the family of the people. And I was really shocked what I found. I found anger, I found unhappiness, I found emotions I couldn't deal with. And then the search started deeper, and that led me to understand my childhood trauma because I went back to my childhood after, I don't know, 15 years not living, maybe not 15, but yeah, 15 years not living in my parents' house. I came back right into the same emotional landscape, the same patterns, the same behaviors, the same. I was treated obviously by my family, by my mom, as I was when I was a child, because that doesn't change really. And that showed me a lot of pain. And I started to dig deeper and like, what is it? How does it work? And that led me to study trauma, how is it in the United States, informed approaches. And one of these approaches is compassionate inquiry by Dr. Gabor Mate. For those who don't know him, he's now one of the most famous trauma trauma speaker, like a person that brings awareness what trauma is and how does it affect us. It's a social thing. It's not only an event. that, something terrible happened in your childhood and you have trauma, and I don't, because nothing terrible happened in my childhood. It's a really broad spectrum of emotional landscape that was created in our childhood. And through this emotional landscape, we now live our daily life. So whatever happens 20, 30, 10, 40, depends on our age, years before, it's not necessarily in our past. I mean, as an event, it's in our past, but as a consequence of the event, it's in our present moment. And I've done a lot of healing through that modality myself as a client, through compassionate inquiry, through also other soma or body-based approaches, which means you really connect with your emotions. You don't talk about it only, you actually feel them, you understand them, you understand your emotional environment from the past, because the emotional environment that we have today, most of the time when we get triggered and we don't like things and people drive us crazy or we drive ourselves crazy, it's not the present circumstances, it's their reaction. And the reaction is something that we experience and learn in our childhood. Therefore, it was fascinating for me to discover that. And I went deeper and deeper with different modalities to understand this. How does the trauma actually work? And that was one of the approaches that brought the biggest transformation in my life. That's why then passionately I've learned that myself, studied with Dr. Gabor Mate, became the supervisor in that method. So I have a history with them already. Then I study IFS, which is abbreviation for internal family system, which is also inside work with our internal parts and our body. And I've experienced a lot of transformation in my own life, in the life of my clients. And I became passionate about sharing this work with other people. I do in-person workshops also. Yeah, and that's like in a nutshell all my life, although there has been many, many stories. However, what I think I want to highlight here is the the fact that the trauma, it's in a sense a base of our behavior, so how Dr. Mate describes what trauma is. It's not that it's not the event that happened in your life or series of events.
Sorry,
It
because
that's
talking
great.
about the childhood,
Oh,
I'm streaming from home, so little one
oh,
interrupted me. Sorry about that.
oh.
I
Do you want
wasn't.
to say hi?
You want to say hi?
No.
No? But can you give me a moment? Okay, I will be with you in a moment. Can you go upstairs, please?
Right.
Sorry about that, but that's
No,
life.
no, we have
Yeah.
live-in proof. So
Yeah.
the trauma, how it's described with Dr. Gamor Mate, and I totally resonate with that description, is not a event or series of events that happen in your childhood and you say, oh, I have trauma about that. It's more what happened inside of you when the event happened and the proper holding wasn't present. Because we can experience difficult event in childhood, whatever that is. But when we have an emotionally capable and regulated parent that can hold the space for the child to experience their emotions about that event, the trauma doesn't happen, because the emotions went through and we had a regulated parent to help us with. So the description of the trauma is not the event, it's what happened inside of you. There's a separation that happens and inability to be with your own pain. So then in adult life, we also lack these skills to be with our own emotions because nobody modeled that to us. And as you know, when we are adults, it's very hard to be with our emotions. So imagine for a child, right?
Yes. And you've described that perfectly. I apologize, but that's also what I living by, simple example. I could very easily tell her, hey, you need to get out. You interrupting me, and be mean to her. Instead, I've tried to nicely explain her, hey, we're doing a stream. but I guess this one will not really be a part of it. Let's hope she will decide to go upstairs and play because we really need to talk, okay? Can you do that for us?
But where's my panda chapstick?
Your panda chapstick is upstairs
But where upstairs?
on a table, on a kitchen table. Okay? Give me some time, sweetie. I will be up there when I finish, okay? Love you. So I
No.
apologize for that. So yeah, that's a typical, I will agree with you. Living in our culture when we grow up, there was completely different parenting approach. A lot of that was based on shaming and fear. So, like, talking about generational trauma, I try to break that circle. I try not to be that parent for my kids. I try them to feel safe with me. I don't have a reason for to create a fear for my kids because I already see, like you said, I work on my traumas for many, many years, same starting with yoga, meditation, mindfulness, and kind of deeping down into coaching and stuff like that. That's what get me start interesting why I feel like I don't belong or why people don't, perceive me like I thinking differently.
Yeah.
So she's coming back. Okay. When I finish, I will help you find it, okay?
But where is it?
I'm not sure, but at that moment, I cannot go and find it with you.
But I said okay.
Okay. Can you ask Grandma to help you?
Which team?
Kitchen table. Can you ask Grandma? Thank you. You say just tell her chopstick, she will understand. Sorry, I will close the door.
Okay.
Talking about, grandmas, because my mom stay with me right now here in US, talking about, hey, I will be recording the
Mhm.
live stream. Can you take care of her? But I forget what I was talking. Generational trauma.
Breaking the cycle that you um, wo- work on yourself, on your traumas, and
Yeah.
now trying to create different environment for your own children.
Yes. And there's all like you said, there's an event. It's not the event we are in. And the same, like I want to probably point it, trauma is not only like most people think about trauma is like car accidents, rapes, and like
Yeah.
really bad, situation that happened to us. It's not just that. I could easily create a trauma for my kid right now and appear like I don't care about her
Yeah.
because I'm in something important right now for me, but her chapstick is really important for her right now. And I
Yeah.
could scold her, I could scream at her, it's like, you don't understand what I'm doing right now here.
Yeah.
Instead, I choose, to do calmly, and talk to her in order to still, she will feel safe. She may come back here. I don't know,
Yeah.
but it's just that different approach. And also, I realize, like you said, it's not the event that happened to us, but how we interpret that event. Because Dagmara and I, we could be in the same time, in the same place, and witness some traumatic event, but I will interpret that event differently that Dagmara will. And that's the difference. I may not have traumatic memories after that event, but Dagmara may have. The same, let's say, back, when we in adulthood manifesting the triggers, something can trigger from the same event
Yeah.
the trauma in me, but may not trigger in Dagmara because she processed that differently. And
Totally.
that trigger don't exist for her. So that's my understanding of trauma. Is that correct? Like, tell
It's
us,
it
yeah, a little bit
how
more if we can deep
yeah,
dive.
it's how we yeah, exactly. It's how we as a child in were perceiving the event that happened to us, how we process it. Or often there was lack of processing because there was nobody to help us process that, and also what we started to believe about ourselves, because the child up till 8 years old, more or less, is, well, more than that, is fully dependent on the adult, and the adult is the hero. So if my parent is not capable to do something for me, to love me, to support me, the child doesn't think, oh no, my mom works so hard and now she's angry, it's about her. The child thinks something is wrong with me, that my parent has no time for me. It's biological survival mechanism, because the child needs to survive, so needs to have a parent that is capable to provide, that is capable to take care of the child. In order to see parent as that, the child has to see itself as that something's wrong with me. It cannot be wrong with my parent, because I need a parent that can take care of me. So that's how the limiting beliefs are created. We all, I imagine, majority of us went through these processes. Of course, the trauma is also on the spectrum. Some people had a lot of good holding, and the social trauma is smaller. Some people had really difficult childhood with typical abuse, emotional, psychological, physical, sexual abuse. That's a different part of the spectrum. But often I find like people in our country are sometimes in between these two extremes. And the other very important part of the trauma, when we talk about it, it's also what didn't happen in our childhood.
Yes.
When the mirroring, which means like the child comes to me and, as you did right now, this is important for me, mommy, no? And of course, this is different circumstances, but if a child comes with something important to the parent, and parent has no time, and that happens not once, but that happens on daily basis, what is created in a child is like, I'm not important. It's a living experience. The parent can be a very good parent. They can provide, make sure the child has everything they need, be very kind, tell many times, I love you, be with the child, cuddle the child. But whenever child comes with a problem, the parent is busy, and it might not be on purpose. It might be because the parent has their own emotions and they in their own world, but how the child perceives the reality is, I'm not important. And if that happens over time for many years, because it's a pattern of behavior, it's not, it happened once that my mom forgot something, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Attitude or a personality of the parent, that it's repeated for whatever many years we live with our parents. And that creates a lot of shame, and that creates a lot of disconnection. And that in our adult life creates the fact that we do not believe in ourselves. We care more about what other people think about us than what we think about ourselves. The shame is omnipresent sometimes, that we say something and then we overanalyze for 3 days. Why did I say that?
Yes.
There is a
Mm-hmm.
fear that this person will perceive that something is wrong with me and they will reject me.
Yes.
The
Mm-hmm.
child, if I'm not important, who I am is rejected. So it's a creation of our identity. And
Yes.
this is crucial for functioning in the world. So a simple thing that thinks that we're not interested too much in our child's life, creates big trauma.
Yeah. That's minimalization of your problem is not a big problem.
Yes,
I noticed
yes,
that in many cultures too. Child came to tell you something either that happened to them in school, whatever playground or wherever it is, and they want to share that story for validation,
yes.
of the connection. And the parents like, no, that's not a big deal. Why you even think about that? I don't want to hear about it. And that's also, can create a trauma that can last to adulthood. That's
Yeah.
what you exactly, yeah.
I think what you touched on, it's super important, because that also happens in very conscious parenting. That the child comes and says, I don't know, I don't feel as good as Mary. And we're trying to convince the child, no, but you are better than Mary, or you are as good at Mary, because Mary is this and you are that. And we invalidating the child
Yes.
experience,
Hmm.
because this is the child experience. It feels less than Mary, and we are not interested in the childhood, in the child's experience. We are interested in how to get the child out of this experience because that's not true for us.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And through that, trying to be a good parent, right? Because it's a positive. We think I want to help my child. We actually invalidate the emotional experience. It's the same. I don't know if you guys experience now because I've done compassionate inquiry for many years. I see how compassion works. That we experience a difficult event, and then somebody tells us, but yeah, but look on the positive side. You have this, you have that, you have that. And of course, there is a space for that as well. But often, if we are in the strong emotions and somebody is telling you, but look at the positive side, this and that, and this and that, you live in a space, there's no war, and you are healthy, and blah, blah.
Yeah, you have roof under your head,
Yeah,
you have food, you have this. Yeah.
that moment when I'm going through, let's say, deep sadness, this is invalidation of my experience. What I need in that moment is that somebody tells me, yeah, I know it's sad when ABCD happens. And then when somebody validates our experience, has this space of compassion, then we feel like we can process the emotion and eventually we come out of it and we see our own power and like, yeah, well, yes, I'm in this emotion. It's difficult for me. The tears are coming or whatever way we experience that. And the emotion is processed or lived. And then we find the regulation in it. And then we feel like, well, yeah, that it's a sad event, but now I feel a little bit better. I can do X, Y, Z. And with time, body gets regulated and we back to our own power. And that's what the child needs also. It needs our compassion, our presence to what the child is experiencing as an emotion, to be able to process its own emotion. But the problem is nowadays, even if the parent is very conscious and reads the books and goes to the workshops, if the parent doesn't work with their own trauma, it's not capable to make space for the emotions of their child.
Yeah.
Because it has its own emotions, So if I didn't process my sadness of my child is going to trigger me, I will think that something's wrong to be sad, and I will try to get my child out of the sadness,
Yeah.
So I'm not creating that experience, So it's very important to work. I don't like this word work, but to get curious about our own experience, to create space in ourselves for our own emotions, to be able to be with our states and with our children's states and spouse or whoever is in our space, and know where is my responsibility.
Yeah. And I think in what you just said, how I perceive it, we creating instead helping our child or partner or whoever, in this case, in our adulthood, instead of, helping them process that, give them that safe, compassionate, space, we trying to, unconsciously cure our traumas,
Yes.
not, validating again what they're going through is what's the best solution we think it will be for them, which is not helpful.
Yeah.
It is not,
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's always very easy to solve somebody else's life.
Yeah.
That's very easy. We see ABCD, just do this. You're gonna be, I don't, like so easy. But then we know when we have a problem and people have hundreds of solutions, we cannot use the solution because the way we are constructed, this solution doesn't work for us because we have certain beliefs, like certain behaviors or certain blockages that cannot apply that solution, right? And I don't think it's about solution. I think it's about allowing what is present and being able to hold space for that, for our friends or whoever, our children, first of all. And that nobody taught us that. I mean, people my age, majority, I'm not saying everybody because it depends on the culture and the parents, what abilities they had. But in the past, working on your traumas wasn't that famous. Was it that practical? There is a lot of psychotherapy in the United States for many years, but psychoanalysis especially. But I don't know how much that actually works with bodily sensations, with emotions, with creating space for your emotional environment, because it's often talk therapy.
Yeah.
You talk about this is my problem, and you come and you talk for 3 years about your problem, and the problem continues, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not about even to have a solution for the problem or for the problem to change. It's for me to change the relationship with that pattern and change the relationship with myself. So healing trauma, it's not, okay, I have all this list of traumas, and now I'm gonna go back with each session. I'm gonna touch on the list of traumas. It's healing the relationship with ourselves that usually it's based on shame, guilt, jealousy, pride, all these social emotions that help us survive, and many limiting beliefs. So this method, actually, compassion inquiry, I think is one of the best I've came across, because it touches all the deep stuff. It touches the emotions, it touches the creation of your belief, and how to facilitate the healthy relationship with yourself. Because everything that happens outside, it's easy to project. Somebody did something to us, and we like, this person is mean, bad, crazy person. That's why I feel sad or bad or angry. It's their fault. I mean, their behavior is their thing, but what their behavior created in us, it's ours.
Yeah.
So we need to know, why am I being triggered by somebody else's behavior, and what is my belief about myself? Because we often have a belief about the other person. It's not me. This person is a bad person, right?
Yes.
Of course, we can set boundaries and all that. That's also valid. But first of all, we need to know what the external circumstances create in us.
Yeah.
And coming back to my life story, once I started to work with my trauma, now from the perspective, I understand it was never the circumstances. It was me who was unhappy, about myself, basically. So once we heal that relationship with ourselves, we can actually be happy in any circumstances. And happy, I'm not saying like we are full of joy and enthusiasm and euphoria, and we just walk and laugh and dance all the time, but we are able to be and respect who we are, have an internal peace, or bring us back to internal peace where we are taken out from it, because it's a instant influx of emotions and changes in our life.
And I think also the big part, tell me if I'm wrong, is that compassion, kindness to ourselves, because I think that's a big step. If we find that compassion and kindness to ourselves, which kind of, I will ask you a little bit more because I'm big about that, ego, and Gabor Maté is talking about that ego sitting on your shoulders, as a big critic, you're not good enough, you will not achieve that, or, people who try to end addiction because you know, not processing those traumas from the childhood or whatever stage of life, happen in adulthood, not only cause, that we uncomfortable or we feel like we don't belong here. It affects our body. It affects our immune system on a long run because prolonged stress that we're living in, kind of have effects on our body.
Yeah,
A lot of people, I read the research recently and it says a lot of people with ADHD is also related to childhood trauma,
of course.
and a lot of different, you know, affects our mental health in general
Yeah.
and physical health as well. So I think if you can tell us a little bit more like how to, or how you think that, finding that kindness or compassion, as Gabor Mate is saying, to ourselves and kind of shut down that ego, which comes from those beliefs we kind of process and believe it's that ego
Mhm.
voice is
Yeah.
true,
Yeah.
you know, how that work, if you can tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, so the first thing, I think it's awareness. When and you work with meditation, so you also know how powerful that is, because we cannot change anything if we are not aware. So the first thing is awareness, how my patterns I built, why, the thing that I said at the beginning, the child perceives the world, 100% egocentric, it's all about me, everything's about me, creates the parent on the pedestal to survive. It's a biology. It's not that one child does it and the other child does not. And it's because one child had different environment, and no, everybody is the same in that case. It's a biology of attachment, and that we need attachment to survive, and we need a parent that is a figure that can take care of us. That's why sometimes we see also situations when kids run away from foster families, or I know it's not called orphanage anymore, but like the house of care for kids.
Yeah.
Parents that abuse them, because parent is the most important figure for a child. Even though if we want to create the best environment ever, the child wants to be with its parent,
Yes.
because this is primary attachment. This is what the child needs. So to go back, how can we work with that? First, we need to be aware, how does it work? Why I created these beliefs in the first place. And in my experience, I've been in this journey very long time. It's not these beliefs don't appear in my life. They do, but I have different relationship with that right now. I see that voice and I hear that voice, and I know this is a voice of my small child, that had to feel shame to survive, So that creates a lot of space to be able to perceive myself differently. So first of all, it's the awareness. Second of all, we need to create compassion to our childhood experience. And that can, in my opinion, can only happen in a session when we actually feel in our body what really happened. Because in order to survive, when we don't have the right holding, the child disconnects from emotions. It's impossible. I don't know. I'm sure many of you are experiencing emotions on a daily basis. And can you imagine, when something happens and somebody mistreats you, like you going through a lot of emotions. You are angry, unhappy, I don't know, sad, frustrated, people smoke or drink beer or whatever to calm the emotions, or yell at other people, or whatever they do to not to feel that emotional charge in their body, because it's unbearable, and we are 20, 30, 40, 50 years old, and we cannot bear the emotional load. Yet imagine a child that is 5 years old, that is mistreated, that is, I don't know, yelled at or beaten or not given the right importance or attention. There is a lot of emotion. There's a lot of charge of strong body sensations, and the child is not able to cope with that, so it disconnects. So we often then in our adult life, we are disconnected from our emotions, and that therapy helps with that, to connect to these emotions, not to feel worse, but to understand, because these emotions are in us anyway. We can say, no, I don't want to work on my childhood trauma anymore. I'm not going to that chapter. I don't need that. This is my past. It's not, because when you are triggered with your husband or your child, especially kids and our romantic partners, they bring the biggest trauma for us, because those are the triggers that we cannot deal with, right? If it's a friend, I might say, okay, I don't want to be friends with this person. If it's a coworker, I say, oh, it's a crazy person, I don't see them. But with my spouse or partner, my parents and my kids, I cannot break the bond,
Yeah.
So, it shows us our own emotional landscape when that happens. And in order to actually feel better, we have to revisit the past, not necessarily go through all the traumatic events that happen in our life, because it's not about that, but it's create a space in our body to be able to be with emotions. And then when that space is created, we can process them, we can regulate ourselves, and we create a space in ourselves that allows us to be present, allows us to see the beliefs, allows us to choose differently, because child often doesn't have a choice. They cannot say, you are crazy, this is not about me, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Child thinks, oh, something is wrong with me, that my mom is yelling right now. Must be that something's wrong, I'm inadequate, and then goes to its room and has lots of difficult emotions that it needs to disconnect, and ADHD or reading books or fantasies or whichever way the child can cope not to be in their body to support itself. And that child that lives our parents' home at 18, 20, whatever years old is still in us. It doesn't mean when we move out of our parents' house, then this is done, my childhood is done, it's in the past, now I'm going to live the life I want to. You don't live the life you want to, you live the life that was set for you already, right?
Yeah.
So we need to undo that. We can then make different choices, and often we work from automatic preset, from our trauma response, as it's called in the trauma healing world, that we have a lot of trauma responses that was very supportive in our childhood. It doesn't work in adulthood anymore, as we know, because we suffer, we
Mhm.
cannot do things, we sabotage ourselves with, I don't really believe in sabotage. It's a part of us that is there to protect us, but now I'm 40 something, I don't need a part to protect me, I'm safe, right? But
Yes.
part
Hmm.
doesn't know that because they are stuck in the past,
Yeah.
so the same, the inner critic you were telling about, it's I don't perceive it necessarily as something that is um critical and we had to get rid of that. We can't, it's something that we need to integrate, that yes, each time something difficult will happen to me, I will have a part that will come and say all these things
Yeah.
to keep me safe. But if I know that, and I did process in therapy for many years that already, then it's easier. I just see, again, my inner critic came to support me, to tell me something is wrong with you because you said that to this person and they're gonna
Yeah.
think about you ABCD, then there's allowance, okay, that person can think about me whatever they want to. It doesn't define who I am, right? But that needs to be, in my opinion, that needs to be processed in one-to-one sessions, because we cannot get this holding from watching YouTube videos, from doing meditation, from reading books, from going to workshops. We have to experience that, how it is to have a safe container for our emotions. And somatic therapy is that, actually. I don't
Yeah.
know, how was your experience with therapy, Anna?
Well, all depends. I will tell you. That's kind of, I call that you click or you don't click, kind of stuff. But
Mm.
yeah, I love when you said about that inner critic. And I think the Gabor Maté was who said that, because it's strictly connected to that primitive ego stage. With ego
Yeah,
stage, it don't advance with you. What it learns kind of stay there. That's why it also is called the
yeah,
critic, but it's also very primitive critic. And I
yeah,
think he mentioned that with his connection and or how he tried to reconnect with his son and stuff like that, that sometimes we can say like, hey, the critic, the ego, I don't want to listen to you today. I hear you, but
yeah,
I will still do what I need
yeah,
to do.
yeah,
Or, in a certain cases, and I think that's what he say, like, fuck you, ego. I'm like, I'm not listening because he
yeah,
based what my father taught, or act to me and stuff like that. I think he's,
yeah,
so it a lot. I think also in a part of awareness, what you say is to be aware that that inner critic is a very primitive
yes,
part of us. It's not who we are. It's not what define us.
yes,
And I
exactly.
think it's like evolving part to how we kind of calm it down and like befriend maybe, like you was kind of saying, it will not disappear. It will be always with us. It's how
Yeah,
we react to that inner
yeah.
dialogue in our head.
How to understand it and how to become friend. And uh, I can share my own story. I've done many in-person workshops, and well, the each time I do a workshop, there is shame present that says, "No, why do you do that? Who cares about your work? It's not important. And I chose to do the workshop anyway with that part together. That
Yes.
means I hear you, I understand you. It's very overwhelming. I think shame has been big in my childhood experience, and it's present, and each successful workshops that I do doesn't mean anything to that part, because then I do another workshop and the part is present again. Yeah, you, blah, blah. But now I have a different relationship with it. So it doesn't overtake me. It doesn't run the show
Sure.
for
Yeah.
part that is in the background, making sure that I'm safe, because people can say things about me, people can judge me, but now I have different relationship with that. After many years of work, there's that integration that yes, people can judge me, they can have opinion about me, they can hate me, they can have all this stuff, but it's about them, and also they can prize me and love me and tell me you are the best therapist, but it's also about them, not to buy both sides,
Yes.
but create the insight, I'm the way I am, I'm imperfect, I make mistakes, I try my best, and the shame is a part of my life, but the relationship with it is different. And used to, I lived shame, I couldn't get a good job, I was fighting with my boyfriends, I was like living from country to country to country, this is not this country, a different country, because the shame was the often, especially in the professional world, that was playing like the main role for me. Now it doesn't, so the life is different.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean it doesn't show up in my life. It does. But the awareness of it, yeah, understand you are here to protect me, but I'm a vulnerable person. I have a right to make a mistake. I have a right to say that if this person is not gonna like me because I said this one thing, well, okay, maybe this is it. But it doesn't mean anything about me, that something is wrong with me, that I'm inadequate, I don't belong, and all these childhood beliefs. But they do surface. And in my personal story, they still surface when I'm going through difficult emotions and something is triggered. It's like a chain of all these beliefs appear, like something's wrong with you, with your life, with the way you, everything, inadequate, don't belong, nobody likes you, you are unlovable, and it's like a package that appears, and the healing thing is not to get rid of this package, but to accept it. This was a part of my experience, and that bouquet of beliefs will surface when I'm going through heavy emotions, because my body is dysregulated and it's coming to support me in a sense, right? But I can create the distance and observe, yeah, this part is present, but there is other part present already, that no, this is not true, it's just the experience going through, the heavy emotions I'm going through. Once I get back to regulation, this subside. But that's when you have the established relationship with yourself, because often we don't have that, these beliefs run our life on daily basis.
And I like when you said about the vulnerability, because when you was talking, kind of remind me Brené Brown, that's her main topic, vulnerability, and she also points about shame and guilt feelings and stuff like that. But I get in a kind of, my brain kind of works this way. I connect and analyze stuff. When you was talking, about that inner critic too, we the worst critic of ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, I want people who watch us or will watch us for a second think about that. How many times we say negative stuff about ourselves in our own head, but we will never say about somebody around us.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, and I think that's a part of that compassion to ourselves too. If I will not say, to Dagmara, you are nasty and you worthless, you this and that, because I will probably never said that. So why I'm saying that to myself?
Yeah, exactly.
It is hard work. Even
Yeah.
appears so simple when we said that out loud, that inner critics still kind of try to jump on us, because it will, like Dagmara said, it will never disappear.
Yeah, it wants to protect us, and it's a part of who we are. So it's not to get rid of it, but to start to love it. And it's very hard work to do, but it's very possible as well to love that part of us, because we survive because of this part,
Yeah.
right? And if we start to have compassion, oh my God, when we start understanding our childhood, what had to happen in my childhood, that where I was thinking all these things about myself, then that we can start to have the compassion. And one of the ways to learn because we have to learn to have compassion to ourselves, because most of us do not have that. It's very easy to have compassion for somebody else, but for us, different story, right? So to learn that, it's to come back to understand our childhood, our what was happening for us as a child, and also
You see it, yeah.
yeah. And also, as you said, it's a very good example. We can also bring that example. There are double standards. I would never tell my friend that is going through hard stuff and something happened and that she's worthless and she should not have done this and that her life, only mistakes. I would never say that. I would say I can see the whole picture and somebody who suffers because something happened, right? But when we are stuck in our emotional trauma response, then immediately all these beliefs are kind of bind with us and we cannot see beyond that. That's why therapy also helps, because we have the space holder that can mirror us and helps us to see, yes, that happened,
Yeah.
but this event doesn't mean that you are unlovable, worthless, you should not ever speak to anybody, like all these protective mechanisms that help us survive. And lately I heard something Gabor said, that, we are in a trap, and the idea to get out of the trap is not to trying to get out of the trap, but to
Mhm.
take the trap apart, the cage apart. And taking the cage apart is to understanding the mechanics of trauma and processing our own emotions. And uh, right now I can say, after done millions of things in my life, that this really works, because I can see the difference in my life. I'm not saying my life is beautiful and, amazing, and I'm just happy every day, but I see the difference in who I am right now to who I was, I don't know, 6, 8, 10 years ago, and how much freedom taking apart the cage brings, because this is
Yeah.
integrated forever. This today, I can have beautiful house, a lot of money, and a person that loves me, a partner. Tomorrow, the partner can leave me. I might lose the house, because there
Yeah.
is and I might lose the money. And if my happiness depends on circumstances, then I'm a slave to circumstances, because then we live in stress. The partner cannot leave me. The partner cannot leave me. I have to make more money. The money, and we are in a trap. So the idea of manifesting better life, we also have to ask ourselves, what does that mean to us?
Yes.
Because obtaining objects, it's again like, oh, I'm gonna have better house, so I'm gonna feel safe. I'm gonna have another car, I'm gonna feel safe. I'm gonna have 100K in my account, I'm gonna feel safe. You will never find the safety outside of your body. That's why the somatic approaches, mindfulness, meditation, and everything that is connected with the body brings safety. It's not the money on the account, because that is never certain. Nothing outside of us is ever certain.
Somebody, I guess, wants to really join us. Okay.
God, it's such a cutie pie. Yeah.
She also loved to listen about that. She fully don't understand, but
Yeah.
she likes to be a part, I guess. So let me ask you one thing. You know, uh, I know we was talking about the yoga meditation, and it's part of awareness. It can help with
Yeah.
bringing that awareness. So as we almost getting to the end of our conversation, can you just tell us maybe, where people can start? We cannot tell people, if they want to work with you. I will in a moment ask Dagmara how to reach out to her, and uh, uh, Dagmara probably is more than happy. If you have any question, you can, PM her. I will tag Dagmara here in a moment, and I will also send a link with her, how to contact her. But if you can, just like how we can start to understand, like people who are not certain, did I really acting this way because I maybe had a trauma as a child? Like,
Yeah.
when there is people like we was talking on the beginning, like I don't belong here. I'm
Yeah.
not feeling myself, or people who, like many people who suffer trauma, self-medicate. People with substance
Yeah.
use disorder,
Mhm.
people with a lot of mental illness, they kind of trying to find that cause, and how do I start working with it? Like any advice, word of wisdom, what you will say for somebody who is not 100% sure,
Yeah.
but would like to deep a little bit, you know.
It's a very good question, basic question, very important. Uh, I think, first of all, it's a curiosity. Could that be something that has to do with who I am, how I react to the world? Mo Most of the time, 90% yes, right? So if it's me, if it's my personality structure, my patterns, they come from there. So we can have curiosity about that. It's good to be informed. So now the media, we can watch many YouTube videos about trauma. I recommend Gabor Mate or Richard Schwartz, which is the father of IFS therapy. There is also Vassal van den Kolk that wrote the book The Body Keeps the Score. So if you exactly. So you can read books. I recommend books by Gabor Mate. I recommend books about, yes. You can also listen YouTube videos to inform yourself, because there are different parts of our healing. It's the intellectual part, so we inform ourselves, what is it, why this has happened, why did it happen to me. This is very important part as well. Our brain need to make sense of that. There is the physical part that we need also release the trauma from the body. So yoga, qigong, all the even martial arts, all the physical exercises that work with energy, like which yoga, qigong, they work with releasing stuff from the body in a different ways. It's definitely very supportive, because it supports our nervous system, so we can rewire it, because this is essential to bring changes. That's a separate topic, so I'm not gonna talk about it right now, but
Maybe
how
next time we'll.
like next time. So the trauma happens in the body, so it happens in our nervous system, and this is who we are. So in order to rewire the nervous system, I cannot just talk about my trauma and my difficulties. I need to physically find an approach that serves me, that I like. It can be Kundalini yoga, it can be Qigong. It cannot be gym or running, right? Because then I'm running away from the all this stuff. Then I'm just exercising the muscles. I'm not really working with the body energy. And also yoga, qigong, martial arts. There are other polyvagal also exercises. They are mindful. So it's not only I do something, but I scan my body, I feel my body. So it teaches us to
Body-mind connection. Yeah.
exactly body-mind connection. So that's the second pillar of it. So there's intellectual, physical, and there's emotional. And that I know there's many people, because I've worked this for a while, and I was that person in the past that think, no, I know everything because I watch YouTube videos, I've done this meditation, that meditation, I've done this, therapy I don't really want to do, because I know everything. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that, So for me, the somatic therapy approach and resonance with the therapist, because you need to feel safe to be able to express your emotions, that created who I am right now. I wasn't this person before, because in my childhood I didn't have safety to express my emotion, experience my emotions. To learn that, we actually need another person who can hold space for us. And it's not only holding space, it's also co-regulating. This is another organism that is regulated for us when we are dysregulated. So it's what didn't happen in our childhood, we can recreate in a therapeutic space with the right, of course, it has to be the right person. So we need to do some research and make sure that the person, I always recommend somatic therapy. So it's either SE, somatic experiencing, compassion inquiry, which I prioritize because it helped me the most. Because it really goes to the core. And there's also IFS, internal family system, that also brings body-mind connection. And those are approaches, in my opinion, that are transformational. So we need to get on the research, on the search of a person that we resonate with, that we feel safe with. How to find a good therapist is that we actually feel safe with this person. Okay, it doesn't happen on the first meeting, right? Because we need to create that safety.
Yeah.
But in a few meetings, we can see if we resonate with this person or not. Do we feel safe? Do we feel judged? Do we feel whatever other things? And we can then choose. Okay, this person we might do research. This that is. Sometimes people give 30 minutes free calls. There are websites where you can find different therapists. So we have this bundle of intellectual understanding, physical exercise, a physical approach, and then somebody who will create space for us. And the healing then can happen. And then it's a journey. It's not that we gonna feel good right away. Sometimes we touch pain. That's why when I work with people, there is like certain amount of sessions they have to book. So we do not interrupt the process because somebody came, they felt pain. Oh no, I'm not going there. I'm supposed to feel better and I feel worse. We have to touch to some pain. We have to understand. We have to bring the emotions, the anger from the childhood, the sadness, all this stuff, not to feel worse, but to learn how to be with these emotions, because these emotions are in our daily life. So I would
It's a process,
definitely
definitely.
recommend that to anybody who is seeking for a real change, to find a person that been through their own journey. That's a very good question for a therapist as well. Have they done their own therapy? Because we can finish the school and have 60 hours of therapy, and now we are therapists.
Yeah.
So, we do the research, we listen, we can listen people like, do I resonate with this person, with their energy, what they say, does that make sense to me? Or I feel judged that somebody tells me, well, you should be somewhere else right now, or why you still with this thing, we already talk about it, like somebody who makes us feel that I'm supposed to already process this because we work 10 times on it and I didn't process, something's wrong with me.
Yeah.
Things like that, but that's another topic and we are out of time. So
I think
yeah,
the therapist can create that safe space for you. It will be like the first thing to look at,
yes,
and then goes from there, because if you don't have that safe, if you don't feel in a safe space, I think that connection will be hard to build. And yeah, I think, like you said, it is a process. It's not the intention of the therapist to make you feel the pain again and suffer again, but sometimes the process brings you there.
yeah, yeah,
Everybody processes everything differently. Some people don't cry, some people
yeah,
cry.
yeah,
Some people stop resurface as like relieving their it again.
yeah,
Some people is like distant memory. So all is as we all different, there is no
yeah,
two the same people.
exactly.
The same like we perceive emotion differently, and the same like I like to name it click. We click with people differently, no matter it is a therapist, friend, coworker, whoever, partner. It's kind of the same relation. When you feel safe, you build you bonding, you have a friendship. If you feel safe in a professional matter, you kind of creating that trustful, safe environment for people
Exactly.
to showcase their skills, but also feel vulnerable enough to process what needs to be processed. Yeah.
Exactly.
Dagmar, can you tell us how people can contact you? In a moment, I will,
You can contact
sorry, I will
to,
try to get your website and link it to
right.
in a comment, but tell us a little bit more how they
You
can.
can reach me through my Facebook, which will be attached, I guess, to that interview. My website. Yeah, I don't know if there is my phone number somewhere. Uh, Probably on the website there is connection to WhatsApp. Um, so yeah, any questions or inquiries, I'm happy to answer. Um, yeah,
Yeah, I think I just tag you on a live now.
right, perfect.
Yeah, and I will try to go. Or do you have your website open right now by any chance?
To put it in the chat, or
Yeah, to put it like in a comments
I can send it in a bit.
or put it in a chat. Yeah.
Here.
I can probably
Okay.
get it from your website too. Let me
Okay.
see.
Yeah, I can send it right to you. Yes, so I wish everybody to uh yeah, to feel, to be able to create that space for who you are, and know as well that we all are humans and we suffering the human experience, and there are doubts, and it's not only you, because sometimes we see people, oh, like those people that are achieving, and they are on the lead social media, and they are therapists, and we perceive, that this person has no doesn't have the inner critic, and they already done with that, and they, but it's not true, it's not true.
Yeah.
All have our own madness in our head, and but having good tools, it helps uh to create a space for that madness that is compassionate and curious, and is not it helps us to feel internal peace.
And I think, a lot of us, a lot of people feel like isolated. It's just me,
Yeah,
I think the also approach is like there is a lot of people who going through similar struggles, might be
yeah.
not exactly the same because that's almost
By
impossible, but
everybody.
very similar. So you're not alone in your
Yeah.
suffering. So I think
Mhm.
that's important too to notice. And I think how we going right now, you know, kind of educating. That's the also why I meeting with Dagmara and we're talking is kind of get you to resources, educate,
Yeah,
and kind of eliminate that alienation
yeah,
because you're not the only one. But
yeah,
I know for some people it's hard asking for help.
yeah,
So maybe don't, if that's the point for you, maybe don't think as about asking for help. It's about seeking resources and educating
yeah,
yourself, what to do next
yeah.
and why we are what we are, how we are, because it is complicated. It's not
It's
one
definitely
answer that fits all.
exactly. It's very complicated. And I'm happy you brought this, because the difficulty in asking for help, it's actually trauma. It's unresolved trauma, because a child asked for help maybe whatever times, and the help wasn't provided, and it was shamed or dismissed. And now we feel like, I'm not going to ask for help. So yeah. Just to add to that already long interview, thank you, Anna, for inviting me. It was a pleasure. As
My
a
pleasure, my pleasure. And I
thank
will add, I try to copy the page, but I'm not too good with multitasking. So
you.
I copy, but I couldn't paste it. So I will add Dagmara's website info in a moment. Dagmara, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm really happy you find the time for us. And if there will be demand, we'll kind of maybe go step farther. You know, we was talking mostly about understanding a trauma. If you want, we can talk more maybe in the future about like first step, how to process a trauma.
Okay.
So, you
Yes.
know, I'm all pro that. I like doing that. Um, it's like how many people we can reach out and help. That's my intention. So thank you so much.
Thank you so
And
much.
kind of anything else you would like to share on the end before we
No, I'm
cut?
I'm really happy to be here. Thank you so much. And yeah, this is endless. This subject is endless.
Yeah,
So
I could talk
I think
forever. So
we touched the base and we talked about things. And I hope it will help somebody to understand themselves better, and feel okay about themselves today, that nothing is wrong with you. That is my uh, last message. Nothing is wrong with you. Whatever is happening to you, nothing is wrong with you.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, I told Dagmar I will be probably like 30 minutes, but that's a very interesting topic for me because I'm processing my traumas too. It's not that I process all of them. They still resurface, like Dagmara said. So I could talk for hours probably, but I think
Yeah,
we'll stop for now. And, like I said, maybe we'll meet in the future and go farther on. Thank you
awesome.
so much.
Again. Bye bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.